Radio.
Hello and welcome to Cryptocurrent, the only podcast to bring you beginner and advanced knowledge of cryptocurrency and blockchain, analyses of cryptocurrency markets, and discussions on growing a business within the crypto space. Stay tuned and stay cryptocurrent.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Cryptocurrent. Your host here, Richard Carthon, and we have an extremely exciting episode for you today. Get hyped because I'm excited because this is number 50. That is right. We've been in this for about a year now, had an excellent amount of just different experiences and conversations, had a conference, been able to just learn so much and get so much value from the various speakers that have been able to come through this podcast that I took the liberty of kind of going back and seeing like some of our most listened to and most like well received and commented on episodes and putting together the top 5 different interviews that we hosted and is going to share some of that information with you today. So right now, I hope you just sit back, relax, get a ton of value from this. We got some great people to highlight for you today. And up first, we have episode 42. This is where Javeen Thomas with A&B Crypto joined us to talk about the crypto community building and how we brought a website from 0 to 1 million monthly visitors. You bring an interesting point. So this is, I think you said in 2017, there weren't a ton of different media outlets for information on what was going on in the market in XYZ. And so as you begin to create content and put it out there to the world, of course, with all of this, people want to be able to know first, if they're looking for something, they have to be able to find it. And then with A&B Crypto, as you're getting your branding out and you're doing some community building tactics, what were some different things that you did to let people know, A, that you existed, and B, that you had the content that they would be looking for?
Right. I think so. A, how did people know that we exist? I think there were some breaking stories around February or March last year. This is basically when we started. We were able to cover like really around 7 or 8 really crazy stories. And I think one of our reporters did that. That basically brought us to limelight. Then, of course, that's where we acquired users. Now, what do we do for community building, which is your question? So that's a very important question because that's something that I feel why your users will stick to you. And I guess our answer is we did a lot of feedback sessions. We asked the users, what do you want? What do you want to read about? What kind of stories do you want? And let me be honest, we had a lot of mistakes. Because we're from India, and of course, English is not our first language. But we evolved a lot. We evolved fast. We learned fast. We knew what people are looking for. We used various Google search mechanisms to understand what are people really looking for. Like people don't search just Bitcoin. People search why Bitcoin crashed or what is the reason behind Tom Lee saying a particular thing. So there are different aspects to what people search for. And we really looked at that. We really provided content for what people are searching for. And I think that's how we are able to build a community. And that's how I think, recurring 1 million people just keep coming back to us every month.
Which is insane. That's awesome. Like that, to have that many, to have that much traffic come through your website. It's true testament to A, the quality content that you're putting out there, but then B, the consistency and just making sure that you are taking the feedback that your visitors are giving you and adding more value back. And so very impressive and awesome job for getting that done sincerely. And with that, as you are starting to get more and more people, as you're starting to see how people are interacting, I'm sure that you started creating different parts of your website and in either the media or the different means that you put on there, you'd add a little bit more through user testing. Can you kind of walk us through how did you start? And how did you add the next thing and build up to where you are today?
Right. So I guess when the first website just came up, it was just articles on Bitcoin. There was nothing else we wrote. We didn't really care about stuff because we thought people just want to read about Bitcoin. And then I think through our second or third stories, we got an inbound request from the feedback form, and we realized that people want to read about XRP or Ripple. And our reporters had just come in, so they started researching about it, and we started publishing stories around it. The moment Ripple stories went out, I guess a lot of people came in for Tron. I was like, please cover this. Why don't you know about this? Why don't you do this? And that's when an entire altcoin information platform was built, and we started writing about such content. Now, probably 2-3 months down the line, we realized that there was a lot of search queries for price, like what CoinMarketCap is doing. So we realized that probably we should build something like this. We don't know if it will work, but let's try it. So that's how we did price.amd crypto. Then we realized there's a big ICO data. Like there's a lot of people coming for ICOs. What should I invest in? That's how we did ICO.amd crypto. Now we realize that there's a big search for events. So now we're going to do that as well. There's a big jobs platform that we're working on because it's like blockchain jobs and everybody's searching for that. So there's a lot of things in the background that we're building on. And I think it's all based on what the users read and based on what people are really looking for. I think the most important thing that we achieved was probably our Spanish market. So we realized that we needed content in the Spanish market. So we hired somebody from South America. We have a Spanish team right now who is specifically catering to the Spanish markets.
That's smart. As you said, like adapt and just keep building on top to add even more value to all of your different customers that would come through. So awesome. Again, that's really amazing. And with that, I'm sure you've learned a lot of lessons along the way. What would you say through building out your platform and your community building as well? What's been like some key lessons that you've had to learn that you wish you could have told yourself when you first started to look out for?
I think the biggest learning that we have got is probably double check everything, triple check everything. If you want, check it 4 times, because facts are very important. You can't mince words. You can't just publish content just for a clickbaity factor. You have to have substantial value. So I guess if we knew this before, I think we would have put so much more effort into it. And I think if I had known that there's probably a big market for Spanish market, if I had known that there was a big market for price and ICO, they've probably started from there. But it doesn't really matter. I guess, like you said, we have to evolve, we have to adapt and look at what is there in the market and then move on.
Second up, we have episode 38 with Mark Anstead with Project Hydro, where he discussed how Hydro platform is helping to create businesses on blockchain.
I should probably start with how Project Hydro sort of got started. Obviously, like there was the big Bitcoin and cryptocurrency explosion back in 2017. But on the other hand, there was also a pretty big issue that came about in 2017. There was the big Equifax hack. Now, you being a US citizen and myself as well, we saw a pretty big issue come around where about 150 million people were affected by the hack with Equifax. And all of these various people around the country were impacted, and all of their private information was leaked. This was basically how Project Hydro, like the idea for bringing security to not only a user, but also a business, kind of came around. And when I first started looking into projects in 2018, I obviously, I wanted to try and get more deeply involved with a project after obviously doing a lot of research. And I was really, really intrigued by the connections and the technology that had already been built out by the team. And me being a business development person, I thought it was an incredible opportunity to try and get involved and and use my knowledge in connections within the space to really help the project grow. And I think that security and like our actual identity is really, really crucial, which a lot of people don't realize, because our information is just out there. Once we start going around on the internet, everything about you is out there and can be purchased in terms of your data. And at this conference I was at this past weekend, we basically talked about a lot about identity and how your data basically creates your own identity. And Snowflake is obviously one of the products that we're building, and that really helps to battle a lot of these mainstream organizations who are monetizing each and every one of us on their platforms, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. They're all using our data, and I personally don't really like that, as you can probably imagine. I'm a little bit biased on the topic, but that's not really like the only reason. I really like a lot of the guys and obviously gals who are working with the team, and they bring a lot of passion to the table. And it helps when you're obviously working with a startup to want to wake up every single morning and really bring 150% to the table.
Right.
And that's
I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry to interject, but that was actually going to be one of my next questions. Was just like, how has your experience been with being with a startup in the blockchain space? I mean, of course, the startup life is its own unique lifestyle, but to also be in it with this newfound technology, trying to educate people on what you're doing and why it's important, and then getting them to want to either use your services or use your product. How has all of that been?
Being a startup in general really isn't easy. But in my opinion, once you get one good name behind you, or one large organization associated with what you're building or what you're selling or doing, it makes your life a lot easier. Obviously, with us having Hydrogen Platform, who is one of the companies building on top of our platform and offering different products and services to their clients, really makes the startup idea pretty abysmal. Mostly because we can basically enable clients and consumers to realize, hey, like, this is a really trusted product. There are a lot of massive organizations and names who are using it, because, well, like, to be perfectly honest, the majority of companies out there aren't going to go and test something out for themselves. They want to use other people's credibility rather than their own, because they don't really want to risk it, and they also are they don't want to put in the time to do that type of stuff. So in general, that's the hardest part for any startup, is to try and get a really large following behind you. And we've done a really, really good job having a community backing us and getting different partnerships and integrations. And we're really, really starting to get the ball rolling.
Third up, we have episode 47, where Allan Gulley joined us to discuss how he is using blockchain to revolutionize the supply chain data exchange. I know there's a lot of different blockchain projects out there that are trying to utilize and figure out how to effectively use blockchain as a database, and then be able to use the different data points to give information back to people that they can consume in a easy to digest way, and then utilize it to make things happen. How do you think that this program is helping to revolutionize the supply chain data exchange and in the retail and apparel industry?
like you said, there's a lot of effort out there, a lot of different efforts out there to make sense of blockchain and to plug it into supply chain and figure out exactly how the technology can deliver value. And I think that it's exciting, but it's also challenging because no one's figured it out quite yet. There have been, a number of successful case studies, and I know there's some pilots that are moving to production phase soon. But there's not necessarily a how-to guide to do this. And as a research center based at a university, our goal is to educate and encourage adoption. Much like the Hyperledger community, it's actually something we joined fairly recently. We want people to understand the technology and to put it into practice. And so as we work through steps 1, 2, 3, however many steps there are, and actually deploy the technology in a way that makes sense, and delivers valuable insights to the customers, we've got to have a plan. We've got to have a path that we can forge and then allow others to follow. And I think that, we think of some of the largest supply chain blockchain projects that most people are familiar with. There's Food Trust, there's TradeLens. I know that Everledger had a number of really interesting case studies with luxury goods and diamonds and wine, and a number of our partners here at the lab were actually engaged on a number of those projects. So we've got a good community going here, a good consortium, I guess is probably a better word. But none of those none of those projects have looked at tracking item level goods. From what I know about TradeLens, it wasn't necessarily focused on identifying individual units within cartons, within pallets, within shipping containers. Food Trust also was essentially case level. So, let's say you have 10 boxes of strawberries in a single case. What you're doing is you're assigning a case ID to each of those items. So you can you can assume that, as long as the items stay in the case, that are what they are. But because we're trying to work at an item level and utilize existing RFID infrastructure and other serialized systems like QR code and things like that, we're dealing with data on a much larger scale with a lot broader focus because we're working with international brands and retailers. And gotcha. that's a roundabout way of saying I really do believe that the implications of this project span a lot further than simply retail and apparel. It's going to affect any blockchain deployment that is focused on tying physical goods into a digital environment. RFID is one way to do that, to assign a digital identity to a physical item. There's many other ways, but it doesn't really matter what the subject of what you're trying to trace in the project. It's all going to follow a common method. There's going to be a path that we're hoping to establish and to fine tune and to deliver to just about anybody that wants to use it on how do you actually put the technology into practice.
Gotcha. Wow. Well, I know, just like you said, we're at the beginning of this and there's no blueprint to figuring this out. But with all the resources that are being poured into this and just seeing like how the world economy is moving to blockchain and how, Walmart's pouring, billions of dollars into figuring out like these kind of processes. IBM's doing the same on the data side and so many countless others. We're at the beginning of this forefront of emerging tech. And I think that it's really awesome that you're getting to be, at the forefront of this over at Auburn University. But fourth up, we have episode 37, where Aditya Das with Brave New Coin joined us to explain how he's helping crypto traders find alpha. You've been in this since last May, almost a year now during the bear market, and you've been able to do a ton of analysis with Brave New Coin. Tell us a little bit about your experience with working with the company and just diving deep into, cryptocurrency and everything that you've been able to learn through this process.
Yeah, it's been really interesting because, our core business solution is market data provision. So, collecting data from exchanges, kind of trying to figure out and, using forensics to decide what's good volume, what's a fair price of crypto assets, kind of removing some of the noise from exchanges. Because, the thing with, crypto is it's so accessible and, there's so many platforms internationally. where people can buy and sell cryptocurrency. It's just such a noisy marketplace. So in that sense, being an analyst, I've had like amazing resources and tools for cleaning market data and having good, crypto information of being available to me. So that's been really beneficial for me. So it's been like, so for example, like I kind of, just by working here, I can immediately like identify like good exchanges, or what we refer to as golden exchanges, like the Bitrexes, versus, you see reported volumes in a lot of places that are just like, just unreal, and, it makes you think the market's bigger than it is, or the trading activity is, just ridiculous when it's not really, if you remove like the echo chamber fake volume. So I've learned a lot from that sense, from like a market data perspective, because that's like our core business solution. So it's been like a great place to kind of have like a rational idea of the way crypto markets work. The other cool thing is like our CEO and some of our like long-term employees have been involved, like our OGs, and have been involved since like, 2011, 2013. And, they've been through a bunch of market cycles. So even though I joined kind of during a period of bearishness, there was a lot of like, rational heads and people I could talk to, and, people who have been through like panic and dumps. And yeah, so that in that sense, keeping afloat and having like a level-headed view of the market has, being able to interact with people who have been around crypto for a long time has been, super great.
No doubt. And, one of the things that I know that you're very passionate about is like finding ways to look into, to find the alpha, which is the above market average returns. Would you mind discussing some of the stuff on your radar and techniques that you use for this sort of analysis?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the broad things I do is I look at like trends and what are people talking about and what do people think is like specific growth areas within crypto. So for example, around the time I joined in April and May, a big thing was mainnet launches and alternative consensus algorithms. So the people who made like bets on projects like EOS and TRX probably did really well in like, Q2 2018, because those prices had, had like huge gains in like April and May, because there was a lot of like hype and speculation, and, people were like really looking closely at mainnet releases and whether these like Ethereum killers could like provide like an efficient alternative, or like a scalable alternative, or an alternative with like better throughput. So I kind of look at like, what are people talking about and tech trends that they believe like specifically like stand out amongst other players in crypto. So for example, right now, a project like Augur, decentralized prediction markets, is something a lot of people have their eye on because it's got so much potential. Other things that, on-chain governance, we've seen like Tezos do really well in the last few months, because, this idea that you can have like formalized governance and fork resistance governance, and, people have seen what has happened before with like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum Classic. So there's certain things or certain token projects that are solving specific solutions that I look at. So it's always like those kind of like trends within crypto where people are like, oh my God, these guys are solving like liquidity issues on Ethereum. So like things like that are, what I tend to keep an eye on.
No doubt. And it's constantly changing, just like you said. And so if you can find any leg up on, when you go to the basic principles of trading, you have things that are going on in the market, like your conditions that will drive an issue, and then you'll have your technical side, which is then the trading side that reacts to an event. And with you trying to find the alpha, the thing that happens that then will make technical trading things happen in response, I think it's extremely powerful. And it's really cool that you have been looking at this, almost a year now, and have been able to find some pretty cool indicators of what you could predictably expect to happen next.
Yeah. And another thing that's been really useful since I've joined is fundamental like analysis of crypto has come leaps and bounds. So there's a few guys like Nick Carter and Chris Bernetsky that have pushed for like observing like network activity. So things like on-chain volume and number of active addresses. And what you're kind of seeing now with crypto projects is if they make promises, you can kind of observe. And, one of the best things about crypto is it's all on a ledger. It's all observable. You can see every transaction. You can see every user. It's all there. So as like an economist or like a data guy, if a token project makes a promise or, is trying to hype themselves up, you can actually like kind of like look behind the hood and observe network activity and, make assessments yourself. And, what does the data tell you?
Last but not least, we have episode 35, where Sterling Lujan joined us to take a deeper look into the relationship between anarchism and cryptocurrency. Along your journey, as you started to look into this movement and see how decentralization and blockchain and cryptocurrency as a unit could be beneficial to the agenda that you were trying to move forward, right? And speak on the different topics that you are passionate about. How did that begin to like weave together in your life, and you knew like, hey, this is a sector that I want to be a part of, and I want to move the conversation forward?
Yeah, I think the most impactful area of cryptocurrency that really let me know that this is going to be a transformational tool was just studying the people who originally envisioned cryptocurrency, which were the cypherpunks and the crypto anarchists. I read Timothy May's Crypto Anarchist Manifesto very early on, and his ideas of using encrypted technologies to provide more autonomy, more freedom, more privacy, and more security for the individual resonated really strongly for me, because the whole purpose of Timothy May and the cypherpunks wanting to leverage these tools was for more individual liberty and to get people out of having to deal with government entities. So that already spoke to me in a very strong, palpable way, because it let me know what the purpose of this technology. This technology is not just some lackadaisical, nice tool for making human life easier. It's actually for shifting the focus of society away from having people having to deal with government to a more free, libertarian-based economy. So this idea right there, these cypherpunk and crypto anarchist notions, inspired me greatly to start leveraging these tools, because it would help me, other people, realize that they could live a more free life. And it just starts through adoption. People being able to adopt and use cryptocurrencies already provides them more financial responsibility, because you get to hold your own keys and keep your own current.
Thanks to everyone who tuned into Crypto Current over the past year. It has been a year of growth, learning, and networking. We hope we have brought you a ton of value along the way, and hope we can continue to do so in the future. This is just the beginning, and we have some exciting things in the works for this next year, and we are confident that you are going to enjoy it. Please stay tuned and stay cryptocurrent. Hi everyone, thanks for listening to another episode of Crypto Current. For more information on this episode and all of our episodes, please visit us at www.crypto-current.co. Stay up to date with the latest news in cryptocurrency. You'll receive daily emails Monday through Friday that are personalized and curated content specific to you and your interest, powered by artificial intelligence. Are you an accredited investor looking to invest in cryptocurrency? Crescent City Capital can help. Go to crescentcitycapital.com for more information. If you're finding value in our content, please take 5 minutes to leave a 5-star review and a great comment. Also, please make sure to share this podcast with others. Hello, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the quality of this podcast. I can only thank my amazing producer, Andrew DeRitter, with DeRitter Productions, who has put this together. If you have any podcast, visual, or video needs, please go to DeRitterProductions.com. That's DERITTER Productions.com.
This has been another episode of Crypto Current, bringing you one step closer to becoming a crypto and blockchain aficionado. We look forward to giving you the latest in crypto news and analyses next week. Stay crypto current.
Please use available exits now.